Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. The clock is ticking on incredible savings on G3 and Suncatcher pontoons. You've got a week, 1 week to May 12th, next Sunday, to get $6,000 back on all in-stock inventory purchased between today and next Sunday. $6,000 in instant rebate and some of the best boats on the water. G3 Suncatcher pontoons. There's no better place to buy a boat, I'm telling you, especially this week. Madisonville Marine, Highway 411 North in Madisonville. Okay, this week our friend Jimmy Hines, sitting right there, along with Paige Dower, used to be over at WVLT, and launched a new YouTube interview show called The Rewind at a YouTube channel called Full Disclosure Productions. Check it out. The first guest for Jimmy was former SEC Commissioner Roy Kramer, and the man behind the SEC's first successful expansion and the SEC championship game. Here's a quick clip.
Alabama at the time was rated number 1 in the country. And that was one of the great discussions by our coaches, was the fact that playing this extra game would result in the fact that the Southeastern Conference would never win another national championship.
Pat Dye said that. Auburn's coach, he said, the SEC will never win another championship doing this.
Yeah, Pat said that very strongly.
And by the way,
yeah.
Alabama the first year won the national championship. But were you a little bit uneasy?
There were a lot of people, well, the media was big into that idea.
Yeah.
Hear that. And I'll never forget Gene Stoller. Gene says, we won 11 games and we haven't won anything. He wasn't vehement opposed, but I know this. He says, geez, we've won 11 games and haven't won a thing. He says, this doesn't make sense. And so there was, I think if you'd have taken a vote of our coaches at that time, you would not have gotten a favorable vote for the playoff.
Yeah.
Jimmy, good luck with your project, and people should go check that out on YouTube. But one thing struck me in that, because I remember it. Everyone at the time, the coaches were, as he used the word vehemently against the SEC championship game, because nobody else has to play this. We'll never win a national title with this thing. In reality, what it did was it made the SEC look stronger than anyone else, and it paved the way to the string of national championships that the SEC has won. You go back before that, people who grew up in the last 30 years are sitting there thinking the SEC's always won 25 out of 28 national titles. No, it didn't. Nope. Not pre-1992. That championship game that all the coaches feared helped them, didn't hurt them. My question to you is there a lesson there for the current batch of coaches and athletic directors who are scared witless of going from 8 games to 9 games? Does that apply, or do you look at it and say, well, John, those are two different things. It's about playoff bids now. It's teams trying to get to bowl games, so that doesn't apply. Is there a lesson to be learned, or a totally different deal?
I vehemently agree there's a lesson to be learned, and I don't see any reason why you can't go to 9. I never did like the argument about staying at 8, but you got a 12-team college football playoff. You can get into the playoff at 10-2 for sure. You may get in at 9-3 if your schedule is good enough. So yeah, I don't think the argument for staying at 8 holds much water right now. Yes, I do think it also helps the conference, and there are certain teams in the league that'll never get into it, Vanderbilt and some others. But yeah, I think that is a pretty good lesson for the SEC to learn about expanding, going to 9 conference games.
Gentlemen, thoughts?
It is. I think it's a good lesson, but I think there is going to be more pushback this time. We think there are going to be more people who feel the SEC championship game doesn't mean all that much anymore in the context of a 12 or 14-team playoff, because it's just another game to get somebody hurt or to hurt your seeding, lose a first-round bye, all those things, and hurt your path to a national championship. Interesting side point here. I did think about this.
I thought that at the time, too.
Right. But the first team to actually lose a shot at a national title, and maybe the only one that I can think of, was Tennessee. That didn't lose it at the expense of another team jumping into the race. So Tennessee gets to be the guinea pig for a lot of things. They were for that too.
In 01, lose to LSU. Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the most part it's not a big deal. But some people are going to push back on this because of what the playoff is, how the playoff is structured, and the fact that the SEC championship game is not a necessity now to get in there.
About back to specifically the 8-game conference schedule, moving to a 9-game conference schedule, does that lessen? We were scared of this. Does that apply to this and say we shouldn't be scared of this, we should embrace it? Or is that apples and oranges? Doesn't apply?
I think it applies. I think it's a rule almost at this point that coaches, athletic directors in a lot of cases, because they'll be tied together in the thinking, they want to make things as easy as possible, and playing 8 conference games versus 9 makes it easier. There's no question, because it gives you more control of what you're scheduling non-conference. In a 12-team playoff, Bob, I would strongly look at teams playing tougher schedules and considering either getting in or seeding. You play a tougher schedule and your record's the same, you're getting the better seed, you're getting the better chance in the playoff.
I would think to go back, and yeah, the thinking to me is almost exactly the same now going to 9 as it was going to the conference championship game. So yeah, the lesson is there, and I think it's time, hold your nose, dive in, and see how the water feels.
And the point is, the SEC is going to be fine. The SEC is the standard. The playoff's going to meet the SEC where it is. I think they're going to want the teams in there, and losing an extra game here and there is not going to cost the SEC playoff berths.
Fortune favors the bold.
Yep.
Roy Kramer and the SEC were bold 30 years ago. Fortune favors the bold. The SEC should do it again, and by going from 8 games to 9 games, which the Big Ten has already done. But here's the thing. I think this is for the Kentuckys and maybe the Tennessees. I don't know the schools that are all voting no against 8. But there are schools out there that say, we've got to get to a bowl game. We've got to schedule crap teams so we can get to a bowl game.
Kentucky?
Here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing for Mitch Barnhart and the crew up there. ESPN will pay for 2 5-7 teams to meet in the bowl game. They will.
Yeah.
And people will still watch it in December, and people will still bet on it. Just start playing 5-7 bowl games. And we all complain that, well, you shouldn't have 2 6-6 teams. They're still there. There's still 50 bowl games, and people still watch them. So rather than make everybody suffer through another round of Kent States and Chattanooga games, go play an extra game, get more people in your stands, and then just start playing 5-7 bowl games. That would take care of it, and you'd all make more money, and the conferences can own the bowls, and ESPN can get the TV rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, when we come back, I fixed the world. That's all I ever did. I just fixed things. I'm a fixer. All right. Did previous expansion work for the SEC? Not from a business sense, mind you, but from a fan perspective. Let's discuss that next. We'll get your opinion, as a matter of fact. Come on back.